The resumption of the Tatar Mongol invasion of the world, the invasion of Russia, Europe, and Turkey. Starting in the year 1237, the Mongol Shurmenchen regained control of Georgia, Chechnya, and Armenia. Then, Batu bin Jogi with his army commander, Subutai, invaded Russia and entered its cities. The Mongols carried out heinous massacres in Russia. The cities of Raydan, then Kolomon and Volimir, fell, and most of their inhabitants were killed. Then the Tatars reached the greatest cities of Russia, Moscow, and destroyed it, and continued to march to eastern Russia, and the cities of Yuriev, Preslav, and Rostov fell. All of Russia fell in 2 years, and despite Russia's huge population and cold weather, no one could stop the Tatars. Then the Mongols invaded Ukraine, plundered the capital Kiev, and destroyed it and killed its inhabitants. In 1241, a group of Mongols led by Bitter continued their march towards Poland and destroyed its cities. The King of Poland used the Knights of Germany, and Prince Henry, the Duke of the German Silesia, came, and a fierce battle took place, in which the Polish and German armies were crushed by the Mongols, and the of Poland fell. The Tatars killed the population in those areas and cut off their ears. The Tatars continued the invasion of Hungary, and Subutai was able to eliminate its army of 65,000 soldiers. As for the leader, Bader, who conquered Poland, he went south to meet the Tatar armies led by Batu in Hungary, and on his way he overran Slovakia and annexed it as to the Tatar Empire. Then the Tatar Mongol armies invaded Croatia and reached the Adriatic Sea, separating it with Italy. Most of Eastern Europe fell into the hands of the Tatars in 1 year. The Mongol invasion was to continue, but the Tatar Emperor, Yukatai, died in 1241, resulting in the return of Batu and Subutai to Karakorum in Mongolia to choose a new emperor for the Tatars. In Turkey, the Seljuk state in this period was in a state of weakness after the death of the Sultan, Alaaddin Keykubat, and the receipt of his son, Gayeth al-Din Kikisra. In the year 1241, Batu Noyan began to lead the Mongol armies in Georgia, Armenia, and Chechnya, taking advantage of the conflict between the Seljuks in Anatolia with the Ayyubid of Levant. Batu Noyan marched at the head of an army of 30,000 soldiers towards the city of Erzurum in Turkey, and battle erupted between him and the army of the Seljuk led by Gayeth al-Din Kikisra. Gayeth al-Din was defeated, and the city of Erzurum fell, after the killing of a large number of its people and the capture of the rest. In the following year, Gayeth al-Din Kikisra prepared to meet the Mongols for the second time and formed an alliance between Muslims, Christians, Armenians, Georgia, and some Byzantines, and headed to the borders of Armenia to confront the Mongols. A fierce battle took place in Kostag, in the Erzincan region of Turkey. The battle resulted in the victory of the Mongols, and the entire Anatolia region fell under the influence of the Mongols. The Mongols forced Gayeth al-Din to pay them money. Gayeth al-Din Kikisra withdrew to Ankara, and the Mongols then occupied the cities of Sivas and Kayseri. The whole Seljuk state became to the influence of the Tatars, especially after the death of Gayeth al-Din Kikisra in the year 1246 and the succession of his sons after him, who are Kikastumentu and Kelj Arslan, and their descendants who were very weak. Kiak, son of Akatai, assumed the leadership of the Tatar Mongol Empire, which extended from Korea in the east to Poland and Eastern Europe in the west, from Siberia in the north to the China Sea in the south. It became the first empire in the world. The policy of Kyiv was to stop the invasion until the new lands conquered by the Mongols were fully controlled. The Crusaders' continuous attempts to ally themselves with the Tatars. The Europeans did not stop trying to ally themselves with the Tatars. In 1245, Pope Innocent IV sent a delegation from Rome to Mongolia, offering to establish an alliance with the Tatars. The Catholic Pope ignored all the massacres of the Tatars against the Christians for several reasons, the most important of which are: most of the Christians in Russia are of the Orthodox and not Catholic sect. Pope Innocent asked the Tatar emperor to convert to Christianity, but Emperor Kyiv categorically refused and refused to ally with Rome except on the condition that the princes of Europe come to submit obedience to the Tatar emperor. The Europeans refused, and thus the attempt to establish a European-Mongol alliance failed. Pope Innocent IV did not despair and sent a second letter to one of the most important Tatar leaders in the Iranian region, Bajunoyan. Bajunoyan welcomed the idea of an alliance, but he did not have the authority to do so, so he sent to Emperor Kyiv to ask permission, but Kyiv refused and insisted that the kings of Europe come to him, and this attempt also failed. In this period of 1248, the French king Louis IX was preparing in the island of Cyprus to carry out the Seventh Crusade against Egypt. Louis IX did not lose hope in the success of the alliance with the Tatars, and he sent a new delegation laden with precious gifts of the Tatars, asking for an alliance with them. The Crusader delegation arrived in the Tatar capital Karakorum and found that Emperor Kyiv had died and was succeeded by his widow, Ugol Kamish. Kamish received the delegation of the French king, but she apologized for not cooperating with him because she was preoccupied with the affairs of the Tatar state, especially the rejection of the Tatar leaders because of her receipt of the rule. Thus, the Crusader embassy failed. Nevertheless, Louis IX completed the campaign and attempted to invade Egypt in 1249, at the end of the reign of King Salih Najm al-Din Ayyub. The Crusaders took control of the city of Damietta temporarily. Then the Egyptians were able to defeat the French and arrest King Louis, and France was forced to pay a large ransom in exchange for the restoration of King Louis. The Tatars did not accept the widow of Kyiv, Ugol Kamish, as their queen. The National Council of the Toltarian Tatars met in 1251, and Minkakin was appointed as the new emperor of the Tatars. Minkakin had an expansionist policy similar to Genghis Khan. He wanted the conquest of the Islamic countries and the elimination of the Abbasid Caliphate and beyond. The Muslims were not aware of the danger of the Mongols and forgot that the Islamic East had fallen into the hands of the Tatars, and that the Tatars came very close to Iraq, the Middle East, and the Levant. Hulagu is preparing to invade Iraq. Mingo Khan was a strong and resolute leader, and he had 3 strong brothers, the first of whom was Erik Buka, and he stayed with him in Karakorum. As for the second brother, Kublai, he was sent to the region of China and its environs. As for the third brother, he is the murderous commander Hulagu, who took command of the Mongol armies in the region of Persia east of Iraq. Hulagu made complete preparations for the overthrow of the Abbasid Caliphate and the invasion of the rest of the Muslim countries. Hulagu began his preparation for the invasion of Iraq, so he developed a plan for several years, starting in 1251, and first began preparing the infrastructure for the Tatar Mongol forces, and then forging alliances with countries and entities neighboring Iraq. Mengo Khan received a Crusader embassy sent by the King of France, Louis IX, who was defeated in Egypt in the 2 famous battles, Mansura and Farasker. Louis IX asked Mengo Khan to ally with him to invade Egypt and the Levant, But Mango Khan refused to cooperate with the King of France except on the condition that the King of France submit to the Mongols, and Louis Quinine did not accept this condition, and the alliance failed. But the King of Armenia, Hethum, succeeded in creating an alliance with the Mongols, and Hethum went to Karakorum to pledge allegiance to the Tatar Emperor Manco Khan. Manco Khan welcomed Hethum and gave him promises and privileges, including ensuring the safety of King Hethum's personal property, exemption of Armenian churches from taxes, helping the Armenians to recover the cities taken by the Muslim Seljuks, appointment of King Hethum as an advisor to the Tatar Emperor for West Asian affairs. Armenia was nothing to the Tatar Empire. The Tatars wanted to cooperate with Armenia to benefit from Armenia's political, military, and geographical experiences in and around Iraq. And history repeats itself, as we see today the use of powerful superpowers by weak countries to control multiple regions in the world. For example, the cooperation of the United States with Iran to control Iraq, Russia's cooperation with Iran to control Syria. Some of the traitorous princes in the Levant, northern Iraq, and Turkey contacted the Mongols and offered to ally with them in order to ensure their survival in their positions. 5 years later, in 1256, the Tatar military and political preparation was completed, and Hulagu began assembling his armies to advance to Baghdad from the east. He summoned the Mongol brigades scattered around the world. He summoned a Mongol military group from Russia led by his nephew Batu. He summoned Begu Noyan from Anatolia in Turkey, and he sent to Hethum, king of Armenia, and to the king of Georgia to send him military teams to help him in the siege of Baghdad. The prince of northern Iraq, Badr al-Din Lulu, participated with the crown prince of Damascus, Al-Aziz ibn Yusuf al-Ayyubi, with the Tatars in the siege of Iraq. Hulagu sent a message to al-Ashraf al-Ayyubi, the Emir of Homs, and promised him, as he promised other princes, to keep them in their positions if they helped him in the invasion of Iraq. These princes sold everything in exchange for maintaining their positions in their lives, no matter how humiliating and despicable their lives. Hulagu, Kitbuka Noyan, and Biju Noyan participated in leading the Tatar Mongol army to invade Iraq and overthrow Baghdad. Hulagu summoned a number of Chinese archers to shoot fiery arrows. Like other invaders, the Tatars do not accept the presence of any force by their side. So Hulagu decided first to eliminate the Asasi sect, the Shiite Ismailis in western Iran, despite their services and assistance to the Tatars, and providing them with information during the Tatar invasion of the cities of the Islamic East. But Hulagu did not want any force to remain behind him. So the Mongols began to attack their fortresses and castles. The Ismaili assassin sect was stationed in a mountain range in western Iran, where they had fortified castles, the most famous of which was the Illamit Castle. A fierce war took place between Hulagu and the Asasi sect that ended with the fall of their castles and fortresses, all within a year. The invaders do not accept the survival of any force that may one day threaten them. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on alerts to receive new videos.